What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for March 30th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Sunday edition of the podcast. Looks like it's going to be cloudy, but no rain, which is a good thing. Before we get into the podcast, let's do some quick housekeeping. First, follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Be sure to check out Lenny Wagner's book, Playing with the Best, One Man's Journey Through the Golden Era of Sports, or Golden Age of Sports. It's the story of Walter French, but as I've been mentioning, it is basically a history of what was going on in the country during that time. Very, very highly recommend reading this book. It's available wherever you get your books, Amazon. You can get it through Lenny's website. It is also available on Audible. Starting Tuesday, we will start. I sat down with Lenny a couple weeks ago, go through some of Walter's story as far as being a Major League Baseball player with the Philadelphia A's, as well as a professional football player with the Pottsville Maroons. That all kicks off on Tuesday. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, are the Sixers a storied franchise? A lot of people will call them that. And I wanted to get what your thoughts were. And lots of good debate on this on social media yesterday. 67% of you said no. Now, I will preface this with, this is a Philadelphia sports history podcast. So it's not lost on me the fact that Sixers have had some great players. They've won 3 championships in their franchise's history. 2 of those teams may have been in the top 5 to 10 best teams of all time. But it's hard to sort of separate that from the reality, especially if you are my age. By the time I really started following the Sixers, Doc was gone. And it was just, they were almost, I considered them like a second-tier team with Charles Barkley. They were not beating the Pistons. They were not beating the Bulls during that time. And then, of course, the whole post-Barkley, pre-Iverson was just absolute dreck. AI provided some great moments, but never could get over the hump. And then we went into purgatory. And now here we are with the process and just the disappointment. So it is hard to see, I guess they say, see the forest among the trees for the Sixers all time. But I get and totally respect that people that have seen that. And obviously from the historical point of view, I do feel as though, yes, they could be considered a storied franchise. However, I've mentioned this before, I kind of get cowboy vibes from the Sixers. Kind of like, hey, we won those championships and kind of hanging on those teams with Doc and everything. And that's not necessarily a great thing to be in because Cowboys fans talk about the Super Bowls in the 90s all the time. But those are the vibes I get from the Sixers. So thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another one later in the show. Sixers did, for their part, lose last night 118-95 against the Heat. They're now a half game up of the Nets for that 5th spot. Only 3 back with 7 to play of the 4th spot. They are in action again tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center to take on the Raptors. Could pretty much lock themselves into a top pick, I would say. Obviously, they won't clinch it for sure. But if they do lose this, it would put them, I think, 5 games ahead of Toronto with 6 to play. So at least locking them in pre-lottery for that 6th pick. So big game tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center. Flyers, the dead cat bounce continues. 7-4 yesterday. And it's amazing that 2 games without John Tortorella, Matvei Michkov, 2 goals. I'm not sure if part of that is he doesn't feel the pressure from Torts, if he's allowed to sort of just go out there now and do his thing. But 4 goals in 2 games since John Tortorella has been fired. Maybe he was holding him back this whole year, and we don't know what we have in Michkov, and we're about to see Michkov mania finally run wild on the NHL. Flyers are currently tied for the 7th spot in the NHL lottery. Union lost to Miami 2-1 last night. Messi did score. Daniel Gazdag scored the only goal for the Union. Went toe-to-toe with them, but they did come up short against Messi and Miami. Good game for the Phillies, 11-6. Offensive explosion. Schwarber, Stott, and Marsh each hit homers. Jesus Luzardo was solid, striking out 11 in his debut with the Phillies. No Trey Turner. He complained of back stiffness. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, so we'll see. The bullpen, though. Little concerned with the bullpen. They've been shaky these past 2 games. Luckily, the offense has been able to bail them out. That is today's question of the day, though. 2 games in. I know it's a small sample size, but are you concerned about the Phillies bullpen early here in the season? I don't know. I mean, some of the guys, and it's going to be a question mark anyway. So I'm a little bit concerned. It's on my radar. I'm not panicking yet. But what do you think? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Are you concerned with the Phillies bullpen? They're back at it today. Home opener tomorrow. Aaron Nola on the mound today for the Phils. Do have some Eagles news. The tush-push banning is gaining some ground. The Packers are still outspoken about it. I personally still think it's a joke, but we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to happen for this year, but who knows what's going to happen, as teams are always looking for a competitive edge, and if you can't beat it, might as well cancel it. But the tush-push was on Jeopardy the other night, and it's kind of one of those things. It's taking over, so it's going to be hard to really ban it. But tush push is on Jeopardy. Packers want to get rid of it. It's a joke, if you ask me. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Great things happening with their Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see how you can get involved. Their podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. But Steven and the crew over there absolutely are doing a great job. So go check them out, clashingconferences.com. And then go to Philly Goat. Get your Phillies gear. It's never too early, never too late. Get your Phillies gear. Get one of their golf shirts from Double Bogey Down. Great golf shirts, get shoes, you name it, they got it. Go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, today we're going to go back to 2019. And on this day in 2019, the Phillies won their 2nd straight to open the season, this time beating the Braves 8-6. The offense picked up Nick Pivetta, who gave up 4 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. But the big story was Bryce Harper, playing in his 2nd game with the Phillies, got his first career hit as a member of the Phillies, and it was an absolute bomb in the 7th inning to extend the Phillies' lead. JT Realmuto and Maikel Franco also homered for the Phillies. Phillies actually opened up that season sweeping the Braves. They actually won the next game, beating the Nationals to start the season 4-0 en route to an 81-81 finish under Gabe Kapler, his last season as Phillies manager. But it was all about Bryce Harper today, who got his first career hit as a member of the Phillies, a bomb in the 7th inning to send the crowd into a frenzy as the Phillies beat the Braves 8-6. And then finally today, our Big 5 Women's Hall of Fame spotlight is on Marilyn Stevens from Temple, one of the best to ever play up at North Broad. She played at Temple from 1980 to 1984. She's a Philly native, Simon Gratz graduate, and just when she left, she was the leading scorer. She was the leading rebounder. She was a Kodak All-American her senior year. She was the first All-American at Temple and only one of 2 in the history of the women's program. Candace Dupree, who we spotlighted earlier this month, was the other. Marilyn, though, was a 2-time Big 5 Player of the Year, 4-time All-Big 5. She was inducted into the Big 5 Hall of Fame in 1989. She was the A-10 Player of the Year in 83 and 84. Had a tryout at the U.S. Olympic Trials for 1984. helped lead Temple to their first two, I should say, Big Five titles, first 20-win season, and is one of two women to have their number retired along with Candice Dupree. She played professionally over in Europe, came back, coached a little bit. She was an assistant at Temple, and now teaches at Coatesville Area High School. My alma mater, Marilyn Stevens, is a teacher at the high school. She's in the Temple and the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. As I mentioned, one of the best to ever do it on North Broad. Marilyn Stevens, you are today's Women's Big Five Hall of Fame spotlight. Thank you for all of you have done, and thank you for going back to my hometown to be a teacher. On this day in 2019, Phillies beat the Braves 8-6. Bryce Harper, with his first hit as a Philly, an absolute missile in the seventh inning to extend the Phillies' lead. JT and Maikel Franco also homered in that game. Let me know about the Phillies bullpen, though. Are you concerned 2 games into the season? I don't want to be, because everything else seems to kind of be clicking. However, it's shaky. I mean, it could have been an issue yesterday. Maybe you chalk it up to having a big lead. I don't know. It's got my spidey senses tingling now. So let me know what you think on the Back to the Future voice and text line or any of my social media. We'll have more on the Phillies as they look to sweep the Nationals to start the season. Have more on the Sixers with that big game tonight against the Raptors, where they can essentially clinch themselves into pre-lottery, the number 6 pick. And then with the lottery, who knows what happens from there. All you got to do is have a shot, I guess, even though it's one of the more convoluted and complicated things in professional sports. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for March 30th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Sunday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.